Crystal Palace 0, Liverpool 2. The Reds move on to 6 points from 2 games. A very good performance and a very tough environment from Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool team. I've been joined by Chris immediately, and guys, I do mean immediately after the game has finished, to jump straight on here for a quick recap. Chris, what's your initial impressions of that win from the Reds?
It's perfect. It's everything we want to see in an away performance. Aside from the result, we went there. We looked strong. We dealt with the physical part of the game. We dealt with danger men who obviously looked up for the game as well. I think we perhaps get a little too nervous with some of these games, but this one in particular, we do know Crystal Palace do have some danger men, don't we? And we do know that they're always up for a game against us, even though I think we've won there, the previous 3 times. What we want to see as well at the moment is that, this season alone is not just obviously going to places like Palace and getting results, but it's getting consistent results week after week. We're 2-2. I know it's early in the season, but we're 2-2. We're only 1 goal in terms of goal difference behind Man City here, aren't we? We've kept 2 clean sheets. We're making statements, and that's when the whole world is saying that this is a tricky, it's potential banana skin and all that, and ramping up the fear factor. We've just gone there with a cool head and put in a utterly professional performance and got the result we deserved. So it's just thumbs up all round, isn't it?
It absolutely is, Chris. And my initial thoughts on the game myself were I was worried, as most Reds were, about the threat of Christian Benteke in the air, and obviously with Wilfried Zaha on the balls being knocked down. But I want to just take a moment to give a special mention to Virgil van Dijk, who I thought was a colossus back there tonight. It's not easy to go up against Christian Benteke. Look, I'm not going to say I'm a big fan of Benteke. He can hit a barn door with a banjo. But if there's one thing the dude can do, it's win aerial battles. It was always going to be a tough night for Gomez and Van Dijk. And I thought they'd been coached perfectly of how to handle him. And Van Dijk carried it out to the letter.
Well, it appears we've learned some lessons from last season. Specifically, the second half of last season, teams were adopting the low block, which they had done in the first half of the season, but found a way of getting out from that low block and causing us problems, which was using a big man and then a quick player running off him into the channels between the centre-halves and the full-back, particularly on our right-hand side. And arguably this time, player for player, we're weaker in that position in terms of experience, because Gomez is the player alongside Van Dijk, and he handled it brilliantly. I know Van Dijk, and that word colossus, I bet it's not been used in one night quite so much, has it? It's a perfect word to describe him, and he was immense tonight, he really was. But you can't ignore what Joe Gomez brought to the table. He was equal to everything that was thrown at him all night. It's looking quite a good partnership, that is. And whilst Trent yet again struggled going forward defensively, he was tip-top. Can't fault him defensively whatsoever. Similarly with Robbo on the other side as well. I think the back four were the impressive. And no, let's include Alisson as well, because I thought he was fantastic tonight. It's the first time I think we've seen him actually do some goalkeeping for us. So that was good to see. And my God, was he good tonight. And I think that's where we won the game. They controlled possession, they controlled tempo, they were solid, they didn't give anything away. Yes, Palace had a few chances, but they were pretty much all from distance or set pieces, and a Benteke got a header away, but Alisson did his job. But they didn't really seem troubled. I think the commentary for the game made it sound like they were being troubled, but they didn't. Not one of them looked flustered. They went up. They went man for man if they needed to. They defended zonally when they needed to. They just did everything that Klopp wanted them to do to the letter. And we need more of that. I think we're looking at perhaps our partnership going forward there as well with Van Dijk and Gomez. I don't think you can split that up now. They've had 2 very, very good games, and tonight was quite a test for them, and they passed it flying colours. So, yeah, superb defensively. And I don't think we've been able to say that often, have we? We had moments last season where we said that was a good defensive performance, but that tonight looked something else. It looks like we've gone away on the training pitch and done some homework on how to defend against sides and playing these tactics against us, and it was good. It was good to see.
At periods or at times during that first half, it looked like it might be another night of frustration for us. There were times where we were carving open opportunities, but the last ball, the final touch, things that we'd seen previously with Liverpool teams just weren't falling our way. But I want to touch on something here, Chris. We got a penalty just before half-time.
Yeah.
And what we said before the season started is if Liverpool are to go and make an actual title challenge this season, we're going to need luck to come our way at times. And that's happened to us in the first 2 games so far. First game, we got an offside goal against West Ham. Let's be clear about that. It was blatantly offside. Today, look, there was no luck about the penalty. It was a penalty. But we're getting these breaks that perhaps we didn't get last season, and we managed to go into halftime again with a lead, which makes the second half a completely different game.
Yeah, I mean, I think if it's a nailed-on penalty, which it was, it takes luck out of the equation, but you do need the ref to get these calls right. And last season there were many times where we didn't see the ref make the right decision. Let me just say, I don't think the ref was biased to any side in this game. I just think he was generally poor, but he did make some decisions that were correct as well. I don't know how he called. We had a goal disallowed. You can see why he gave it, although it was perhaps just as much contact from their defender that made the goalkeeper throw the ball into his own net rather than Mane. So, maybe you could look at that. If we hadn't have got the penalty and we didn't go in 1-0 up, we'd have probably been looking at that situation there, wondering what the hell's going on. But you do need bits of luck, but there's this argument, and I saw it for years with Manchester United, and I heard this said many times, that you make your own luck. And I think what that means is if you have enough of the ball, if you apply enough pressure, if you play well enough, the only way opposition are going to stop you is by fouling you. And ultimately, that's what happened. I mean, even the second goal, right at the end of the game there, when Mane scored, the only way they were going to stop him was bringing him down. That'd have been another red card, maybe a penalty if it was in the box. The red card that the young lad got there, he had a really good game, but the only way he could stop Salah from scoring or going through to test the keeper at least was to bring him down. He had no choice but to make that challenge. Now, we've created that opportunity where the player has to bring the player down. That's what's happened. I don't think there's any luck in that, really. It's just last-ditch defending that you
very clever from Mo, by
players
the way,
into.
The run that he made. He didn't so much cut across the player, but he didn't change his line. He made the player come in at an angle, which didn't really give him much chance to get to the ball.
Exactly, and you saw with Mane's goal, he went across the player. You've seen that these are top-class forwards at the top of it. People say that they had a poor game. They weren't given a lot, to be honest. Crystal Palace defended quite well most of the time, and they did frustrate the front three. But when any of the front three had a moment where they could make something happen, invariably they did. Shooting boots probably weren't on, but in terms of creating something, they were making the right runs. They were standing players up when they needed to. They weren't that bad. I saw a lot of shouts throughout the game, and they're saying like this. I think I said it to myself, quite early in the game. I said, Salah looks like he's got heavy feet, but that went away throughout the game. He didn't sort of hide. He didn't go away. He just started playing better and trying harder, and that's what you want to see from them. But ultimately, what they did is they tested the defenders time and time again, and at some point, something's going to happen. There's going to be a foul, isn't there? We're going to see a lot of that, I think. And whereas last season we weren't getting the decisions that we really should have had, we got one today, or two today, really. If you look at it, if you take into account the red card as well, which perhaps killed the game off a little bit. yeah, it's part of the game, isn't it? You know, people will point to that and go, "Oh yeah, Crystal Palace were probably unlucky. Liverpool got a penalty. They had a player sent off." But it's part of the game. The yellow card system, the red card system, penalties, free kicks, corners, throw-ins—they're all part of the game. They're in the rule book. They're there for a reason. You can't ignore them and pretend like football. The football match is void because somebody got a penalty or anything. So it's we've created that opportunity ourselves, I believe. So yeah, we make our own luck. That's the way I look at it.
Just going back to the penalty for a minute, Chris, we'd seen during pre-season we had a few different penalty takers, but I was very, very happy to see James Milner pick that ball up and step up to take it, because yes, he missed one last year, but I had every faith that he was going to slot that one away. I don't know why. Usually I'm really nervous with penalties, but there was something about James Milner picking that ball up and the form that he's in that just let me know he was going to slot that away.
Yeah, he's we were talking about really bigging him up, weren't we, on a recent pod, and he's Mr. Reliable. I think if he's on the pitch, he's got to take them. An end of story. I can't think of another player on the pitch I'd rather take them. Perhaps you're just looking at players who are not just cool, but are no nonsense. I think a penalty is a no nonsense scenario, isn't it? I think if you look at a lot of the great penalty takers, players who have routinely put penalties away, they are no nonsense players. It's going in that corner or it's going roof of the net. That's exactly where I'm going to put it, and I'm not going to mess about. I'm not going to jink my run up or mess around it in any way. I'm putting the ball in the net, and Milner kind of strikes you as that kind of player. You're not going to want anybody else taking a penalty. As much as you want to see somebody like Firmino probably like chip the keeper or something, you save that until you're like 5-0 up or something, don't you? But when it's 0-0 and you're away from home at Sellers Park, I think you want Milner on the spot kicks, don't you? He just doesn't let you down. Just does not let you down.
Just a quick word about the team selection, Chris. We spoke during the week, and I've said time and time again that I'm a massive fan of a player keeping hold of his shirt if he hasn't done anything wrong. And I was absolutely chuffed to see that Jurgen Klopp kept faith with the team that played so well against West Ham last week and made absolutely no changes. Now, the only thing that perhaps shocked a few people here was that Fabinho wasn't even on the subs bench, which to me, some people were losing their minds about. But for me, I looked at it that shit. This means we really do have a good depth of squad at this moment in time. If Fabinho can't get onto the bench yet, that really tells us how far we've come along.
Well, if Fabinho is on the bench, then somebody else isn't. And they're all very good players. Klopp's going to be thinking, right, there's an opportunity in this game here to bring somebody off the bench. Now, whoever I didn't have on the bench last week, I can have them on the bench this week. And if I've got no plans to start a player, there's an argument as to whether or not he really needs to be on the bench for that game. And he's clearly just... Yeah, I think he said himself, didn't he, Clark, that Fabinho is going to take a little time just to get up to speed. But when he does, he's going to be a fantastic player, and I fully believe that. Got no doubt about that whatsoever. But in the meantime, spots on the bench are up for grabs for everybody. They're all in training. They're all fit. They're all performing well, when given the opportunity. It's... Next week, somebody else is going to be missing from the matchday squad and sat in the stands, and it's a shame for them as well. So I don't read too much into it, really. And like you say, the starting 11 kind of picked itself this week. There was over a week between games, so nobody needed resting. Everybody performed very well in the previous game. And like I say, we were a bit nitpicky with Trent's final ball in the game against West Ham, and you could perhaps be a little bit picky today with his final ball. But defensively, first and foremost, he's a defender, and that back four has now kept 2 clean sheets, so that's not been changed. Midfield 3 again played very well today. Perhaps went a little bit off the boil in the second half, up until the sending off, but even still, I think Henderson's perhaps going to be knocking on the door for the next game. I thought he was very good when he came on.
You could see as soon as he came on, as soon as he came on, he was barking instruction, wasn't he? And he took command of that midfield. He made us knock the ball around, slow down the game when we needed it, speed up the tempo when we needed to. And just before we push on, I want to go back. You're talking about the midfield. I want to pull you back to the first half. Naby Keita, ball played to him just on the edge of his own 18-yard box. Cruyff turn, leaves the player on his arse, and then pings a 40 or 50-yard diagonal ball straight through the centre, right onto Mo Salah's foot. Wow.
It deserved a goal at the end of it. It really did. It was top-class stuff. I don't think it was the only ball he played over the top that was decent as well. And I was just about to say his awareness is like out of this world, but then again, a couple of moments, a few moments later, he gave the ball away, didn't he? In our third. But never mind that so much. Players will give the ball away sometimes. Most of the time, he's always progressive, isn't he? He's always looking to get the ball forward. And I think you can see how the way the front three move the second he gets on the ball. It must be done in training. It must be, but it's almost like they've got a complete confidence that he's going to find them. There was, I think it was on the 3rd minute. Salah was sent through. Only I think his touch didn't get out of his feet, and the centre half and full back kind of recovered and got in front of him, and it fizzled out. But that was a superb ball. It was a fantastic ball, brilliantly weighted into Salah's path, and it was. These are the kind of balls that we used to see, like Gerrard playing to Torres, for example, and it's something we've not really. We were talking about the way Henderson moved the ball early. It's brilliant. He does. He keeps hold of the ball and he manages possession really well. But in terms of that killer pass, I think that's perhaps from deep anyway. I think that's perhaps something we've missed with the midfield that we had last season, and he adds that. And you can see the front three are going to really enjoy that this season, especially in games when we get more space, because a lot of the time Palace had 11 players behind the ball today. I know we're going to see a lot of that this season, but he's got the ball over the top as well, hasn't he? So let's not worry.
Why is it, mate, in so many of these games we often see a team 1-0 up, dominating, other team coming back into it, trying to get into the game, and then we see a late goal that just kills it off in either injury time or the 88th, 89th minute. It happens so many times in football.
Well, it does, doesn't it? I think, they were only 1-0 down. They were down to 10 men. They might as well lose 2-0, 3-0 as lose 1-0 and just go for it. They're at home. So I had no, I expected a little, especially when the board goes up and says 4 minutes and the crowds, they go up a notch or two, don't they? And I think that's to be expected, and that's what we thrive on. We score goals when we concede a corner. It's what we do, isn't it? We're lethal in that regard. So, I think what you're seeing there as well is it's just another warning to teams when they play us, and I think because of that, I think we're going to see a lot of negative performances against us this season. Because again, they kept us at bay quite a while today, as long as they were defending, and then the second they step out, we were in behind them almost at will, and it's quite scary how we do that. So I wouldn't like play against that front three, and now with players like Van Dijk, even Alisson sprayed some superb balls out into the channels.
He was ridiculous today, mate. It was like a quarterback.
Oh, he was. He was, but there were times where the ball was played back to him and he found himself in possession of the ball with the ball at feet, and there were 2 or 3 of their players sort of within close proximity, not right on top of him, but within close proximity, and he was just so unflustered. He'd thread the ball through the eye of a needle to find Genie, for example, and I'm like. And at no point did I feel panicked by it as well. It's quite weird. It's a weird feeling, and I think the more and more we see it, the more used to it we're going to get. I just hope we don't get on his case whenever he misplaces one. But it's fantastic. You can see the players really enjoy playing with him as well. That all of them they're expecting the ball from him now. and because of that, the next player is expecting the ball from that player, and I think we're going to see a lot of goals where the move starts with Alisson. I think we're going to see that a lot this season.
Before we finish up, mate, I just want to take a moment to have a little word about Sadio Mane. Only 2 games into the season, Liverpool's new number 10. We say new, he's obviously been at the club a while, but he is our new number 10. Great to see him get 2 goals in his first 3 goals, in his first 2 games.
Well, I predicted a big season for him. I'm not going back on that. 2 games in, he's got 3 goals. Very deserved. He was the pick of the front 3 today again. And funnily enough, he's wearing the number 10 shirt, and at times he is playing that role, isn't he? Let's be honest, he's dropping in there, and he's starting to spray the ball around a little bit now and switch play, which I've not really seen much from him as well. And so he's got different facets to his game, which we're starting to... I think we've always just thought of him as a player who sort of stands up the last man, goes past him, but not only can he do that, he can drop deep, and he's helping out defensively a lot as well. I talked about our defensive performance today. Robbo must love playing down that side with him. He offers him so much protection. He's closing down everything, and I'm going to give Salah a shout out there as well. I saw many times today Salah tracking back into midfield and winning the ball. We normally look at Bobby for all that, don't we? But Mane and Salah in particular today were doing that a lot. But yeah, Mane is something else, and levelling up this season is guaranteed. I think we're going to see some scary numbers from him this season.
We march ahead, Chris. 1 game left, or is it 1 or 2 games actually, before we head off into this international bullshit break?
One of them again, I know, yeah. It comes around way too soon, doesn't it? And usually as well, we've always worried about that killing momentum, haven't we? I think that what's next up is Brighton, isn't it?
Yeah, half 5 kick-off on Saturday, and then is it Leicester, I think, after that?
And then Leicester after that, and they've got Vardy missing, I believe, so I don't know who's going to score for them against us. Probably nobody. They've
Iheanacho, I think, is the only other decent striker they'd have there.
Yeah, so keep another couple of clean sheets. I think we always look like we're going to score. I can see us. If we go into the international break on 12 points, I think we're going to come back from that bouncing. And I think we're a different breed now as well, aren't we? We seem to be a lot more cool and collected about things. And whereas international breaks have either killed momentum or left us lamenting if we've not played well before we've gone away, I don't think that really matters with this bunch of players at the moment. I think they're in a good place mentally, aren't they? And would be nice, wouldn't it, to go into that break on 12 points? It really would. And
it will be, Chris. It will be nice to go into that break with 12 points.
It will, yeah. I'm willing to put money on it. It's more than likely, isn't it? Now I think we're heading to that now, aren't we? We're in that form, and it's looking good.
Absolutely.
Good time to be a Red.
It certainly is. So Liverpool go to London, folks. Take maximum points. Beat Crystal Palace by 2-0. We look ahead to Brighton on Saturday. We got to leave it there, guys. It's a busy, busy night. I hope you guys enjoy the game. Thank you for joining us for this post-match point podcast. As I said, Liverpool beat Crystal Palace by 2-0. Thank you to Chris for joining me. I look ahead to Brighton on Saturday. Fingers crossed we can make it 3 from 3. Until then, enjoy the rest of your week and up the Reds.